quoted in Acts 2, don't you? So it's looking forward to the day of Pentecost, when the Spirit of God would no longer be like He is in the Old Testament, just coming upon people, but He would be in people. And that He would do a new work on the earth. God would do a new work on the earth through the Spirit of God. And you've got this tiny little book in the Old Testament named Joel that speaks of that day. The day of the Lord is a day of destruction. It's a terrible day. This day of the Lord. This day of the Lord is still that way. This day of the Lord is kind of that way. Because what is the cross? The cross is deliverance to those who believe, but it's condemnation to those who disbelieve, or who fail to believe, right? So it's still the day of the Lord, isn't it? For everyone. But to us who have believed, it is the reception of the blessings of God. The main teachings on 251, let's read those together. The day of the Lord is any day on which God comes to settle accounts for sin. Judgment comes before blessing in the day of the Lord. The call to repentance is offered before God judges. To those who believe in God and are saved, blessings follow judgment in the day of the Lord. One of the main reasons for the Lord's judgment for sins is so that people will know He is God. Judgment for sin cannot be avoided. The great and awesome day of the Lord has not yet occurred. Now, the great and awesome day of the Lord, what is he talking about? Right. In the book of Joel, toward the end of the book, he speaks of that day. Chapter 3. Chapter what? 228. Yes. Look at 31, 231. The sun will be turned to darkness, the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. That does not necessarily describe the coming of Christ, does it? Not the first advent. It sounds more like the second advent. That's what he's talking about, the great and terrible day of the Lord. All right, I know I've spent an inordinate amount of time in a very short book, but I did that to get you back into your NIV study Bibles, okay? Because it is a great research and study tool for understanding the Bible. So between your NIV study Bible and your manual that you have, and perhaps the timeline that I've given you, maybe that's going to help you too, you have a pretty good chance of understanding the whole message of the Old Testament as well as the individual message of every book, don't you? All right, ready to take a break? Ready to get out of this hot room and go out and get some air?